Well, folks, it's starting like I expected. The impeachment inquiry has kicked off, and there is new text messages which have become a little bit more damning evidence against the Bidens and even Jim Biden, the brother. There's some references as well. If you stick around and listen to the end, I'll show you what I'm talking about. I've also got a little bit of information here from none other than no bullshit Nancy Mace. I'm liking this lady more and more every time I hear her speak. She sounds to me. She sounds to me like Trump in so many ways. Just she speaks from the hip. I believe she is America first, and she's a fighter. She is part of, I believe it is our oversight committee, and she has been down in the skiff and seen a lot of the information against the Bidens. She's the one that said she believes it is north of $50 million that the Bidens have taken in. Now that we find out 23 countries involved, the number may be much higher. And there may be other perks as well that we haven't even begun to consider. That's what I'm guessing. But at any rate, we'll start this video out with how the Democrats handled today. Now, this is one thing I caught out of my listening to as much as I could of this hearing today, and it will go on for several days, I believe, is the Democrats, as usual, are in full-blown denial of the situation. They wanted to talk about bringing Giuliani in, which was stupid. Got shot down, got tabled. That was Raskin. They tried to distract from everything that was going on. They tried to blame it on Trump. They went out of their way to talk about everything except for the fact that they could have took the opportunity to try to defend Joe Biden or Hunter Biden for all this tons of information and evidence that is out there and is every day accumulating. They can't contest the evidence. That's what I see every time I see one of these hearings. This impeachment inquiry is just going to be laying the dominoes, laying the cards out on the table one by one. The Democrats are going to scream and cry a little bit, but in reality, they're not going to be able to bring a counter case in any way, shape, or form. They can't argue Sid and Hunter Biden stuff. Eventually, they're not going to be able to argue that Joe Biden wasn't on paper directly involved. We're getting closer and closer to the point that we find Joe Biden's bank accounts. And when that happens, we find out we have transaction reports going directly into one of Joe Biden's alias bank accounts. I think that will be enough for full-blown impeachment, hopefully in the Senate. Maybe that's just wishful thinking, but hopefully there's a couple of Democrats over there that are just not crazy yet. But who really knows? Not too many moderate Democrats left in the party at this point. But let's go ahead and get into this, folks. Nancy Mace lays it out. Tons of evidence, including new evidence. And like Jim Jordan said today, overwhelming amount of evidence will be definitely laid out. And it was definitely necessary to start this impeachment inquiry. A lot of the Democrats were screaming, well, y'all don't have enough evidence yet to impeach. Yeah, they said that several times today. Well, this is not actual impeachment. This is trial of impeachment. That's what the inquiry means. And so we're going to get to actually lay out the evidence for the whole world to see. And I hope they slow walk this for a whole minute just to keep Biden's name smeared. But I think there's enough information out there. This may be going on to the minute Biden leaves office with more and more information dribbling out. You got to remember, the whole entire Biden family has taken money, and Joe Biden has been a senator for 48, 49 years. And I guarantee you, at one point, he become compromised. And from that point forward, there's records of all his shenanigans. It's just a matter of finding it. And so there's no hiding who Joe Biden is. The whole world is now beginning to see he's not just a horrible human being, but he is a treasonous crook that has got a sad socialist party trying to defend him, and it's just not working for the American people anymore, and that is the best part for me. I'm glad to see this happening. I don't expect to see super results anytime soon, but I do expect to see more and more information unfold like a blooming onion every time we have one of these hearings. More information, more money, more evidence, until we get that one piece of evidence that's enough to actually do something about it. Now, we'll see how that goes. I can't speak for any of the three-lettered agencies, head figures that should be doing their job at this point and investigating themselves, but since the Congress is having to do the investigation for them, we may have to wait till Trump gets back in there to be able to lay all this evidence in a real prosecutor's hands. But at any rate, I'm just happy that we're going to get some great exposure. We're probably going to find out about some more key players that are protecting the Bidens and why they're protecting the Bidens, because they're probably in on the money scheme as well. Just my speculation. So let's go ahead and get into this, folks.
But they've got nothing on Joe Biden.
If we had a box of all the foreign money the Bidens took, it would have reached to the ceiling.
This is not a serious inquiry. This is not a serious hearing.
Hunter Biden referred to access to his father as the keys to his family's only asset. Those words are going to come back and haunt Hunter Biden.
The only thing the president can be guilty of here is being a father.
This image shows an email between Hunter Biden and his business associates stating the setup of equity in a Chinese-owned energy venture. Who else was getting a cut? According to this email, 10% was going to the big guy.
This is an embarrassment. An embarrassment to the time and people of this country.
Oh, man. You know, the judge, we had to endure the walls closing in every day with just stupid accusations about Trump. Nothing about him comes close to a $250,000 bribe.
I'll leave it right there with that one, folks. I got another video clip I'm going to show you, but that's how it went today. Back and forth, 5 minutes apiece. Democrats in denial and trying to point the finger in other directions, but really had zero defense for Hunter or Joe, or could even argue about any of the messages, the emails, the phone conversations, the recordings. There's just so much out there. You can't argue about it at this point. It's a ridiculous thought. Now, if you'll bear with me just a second, folks. All right, we'll get right into this one as well. This is Nancy Mace. Play the full video clips, about 5 minutes long, of her speech before the House today. She said a couple of things that I thought were really inspiring, besides the fact that she's got all this laid out as far as the criminality, and I'm just glad to see it. Not the criminality, but glad to see that they've got this laced up and sewed up on so many levels. It's just a matter of filling in a few blanks.
Chair recognizes Ms. Mace from South Carolina for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In 2019, Representative Raskin didn't think a House vote was needed for an actual impeachment inquiry. And to quote Representative Raskin, he said in 2019, there's no formal constitutional or statutory or even the House rule for how an impeachment inquiry is to begin. And so it means different things to different people. I don't want to hear another word from the left or anyone across the other side of the aisle about impeachment inquiry. This is complete and total hypocrisy this morning. Today, we're going to bring the facts. Today, we are going to bring the evidence. In 2017, the Joe Biden family teamed up with Chinese company CEFC to make millions off of granting access to Joe Biden. Hunter even arranged for Joe Biden to share office space with the CCP-aligned company CEFC. My Democrat colleagues say none of this is relevant because Joe Biden wasn't vice president while his family did these shady deals. Turns out that's complete and total bullshit. It's a lie. Hunter Biden referred to access to his father as the keys to his family's only asset. Those words are going to come back and haunt Hunter Biden.
I believe so. I believe at this point, folks, Joe Biden has made video admissions about the $1 billion. Hunter Biden has discussed not on phone conversations about his partner, Patrick Ho, who disappeared, the spy chief of China, one of the richest people in China. There's been so many conversations over the phone between Hunter and Joe talking about how he thinks he's in the clear. There is an overwhelming amount of evidence just in voice recordings. There's an overwhelming amount of evidence just in bank reports. Overwhelming amount of evidence just in text messages. Every avenue that you look down, LLCs, just every avenue that you look down, looking at the Bidens, including the internal revenue issues being cock-blocked by the Department of Justice, says it all, folks. The writing is on the wall. Anybody that thinks the Bidens are innocent at this point are either in denial or they're stupid. And that's all there is to it. There is no two ways about it. You cannot unsee what we've seen, and you cannot assume that Joe Biden's innocent anymore of anything. We all know he is a child-sniffing, creeping, treasonous, money-grubbing, country-selling, horrible individual. Not much of a parent either, putting his son up, his crackhead son up, as the bag man for God knows how many years and how many horrible transactions that probably, most likely, are still damaging this country today and may even damage this country further into the future, depending on what we find out that he allowed to happen with the Chinese and the Russians and the Ukrainians and the Kazakhstanis and Uzbekistan and Africa. All these countries were not paying the Biden family for nothing. And that's what it boils down to. Y'all know all this, but I'm just glad to see this thing fall into place. This is going to be the Biden crime syndicate takedown. Is going to be the final chapter of this book when it's all said and done. That's what I have to believe. And I believe God will will it that way, just because everything in darkness will come to light. And I think the evil will be not just exposed, but will be wrought out. And God may have done it through Trump, and we just don't know it yet. Here we go, folks. The great Nancy Mace.
And his family forever. Yesterday, the Ways and Means Committee released an FBI memo on the interview they had with Tony Bobulinski, a former Biden partner in crime. I'll read a bit of that right now. The work conducted by CEFC, Gilliar, Walker, Hunter Biden, James Biden, and Yee over the preceding 2 years was discussed in detail. In particular, CEFC was closing significant investment deals in Poland, Kazakhstan, Romania, Oman, and the Middle East during this period of time. Period of time is in reference to the years 2015 and 2016, when guess what? Joe Biden was vice president. As an aside, Rob Walker, in previous testimony, also confirmed that Joe Biden attended a meeting with the head of CEFC. So now we know CEFC was working with the Biden family while Joe Biden was vice president. And I'll continue reading from Tony Bobulinski's report, which says, and I quote, Bobulinski, Hunter Biden and James Biden did not receive compensation because Joe Biden was still vice president during this time period. There is a concern it would be improper for payments to be made to Hunter Biden and James Biden by CEFC due to its close affiliation with the Chinese government. Hunter Biden and James Biden both wanted to be compensated for the assistance they had provided to CEFC's ventures. In particular, they believe CEFC owed them money for the benefits that accrued to CEFC through its use of the Biden family name to advance their business dealings. The Bidens, coincidentally, were paid over $1 million by CCP-affiliated Chinese company CEFC shortly after Joe Biden left office as vice president.
I'll pause it right there for just a second, folks. They weren't just doing money for intelligence, for favors, for foreign aid favors. There was probably so many things we have no idea about yet as to what the other countries and these, I'm sure probably big businesses as well, got from Biden affiliation, from the influence peddling, crime in itself. What did they receive out of the deal? That's what we need to get to, and a lot of it is probably policy change, which can be the difference of somebody making hundreds of dollars to making billions of dollars, depending on how the policy change affects their business directly. And that's so easy to get away with overseas, with foreign countries, because who's looking, who's watching, who's paying attention? Well, folks, guess who is paying attention? It's our House Oversight Committee, folks, and they are on the trail. They are like a coon dog on a hunt. They done got their nose to the ground, and they are tracking this critter, and it is a matter of time. Biden is going down. I have to believe it. And I also believe, like James Comer said, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden are like a couple of wounded bears in the wintertime in the snow that you're tracking. The evidence is everywhere that they're wounded. The trail to them is just a matter of when you catch them. Not if, but when. And I believe that's true too. Here we go.
Now we know why, because it was back pay. I'm going to show another image. This is a text message between Hunter Biden and Gong Wendong, an agent of CEFC. Hunter says, "My uncle will be here with his brother," in all caps, "who would like to say hello to the chairman." He goes on, "Jim's brother, if he's coming, wants to say hello." His uncle's brother. I wonder who that could be. I can't quite figure it out. Hunter puts brother in all caps, and it doesn't take a genius to figure this out, but since I'm not always dealing with geniuses, and Washington, D.C. has been illustrated today, I'll spell it out.
Before she spells it out, let me just let you know, this is a newly released set of text messages today, or WhatsApp messages today, with Hunter Biden, with Gong Wendong, which was one of his, and AKA known as Kevin, which was one of his partners involved in all these shenanigans in China of all places. So, if Hunter Biden's uncle, if he is saying it's his uncle's brother, think about it, folks. Who is Hunter Biden's uncle's brother? Wouldn't that be Joe Biden? That only makes sense, folks. I mean, I don't know how many Biden brothers there are, but I guarantee you, he's talking about Joe. Looks like just more corroborating evidence to me that Hunter Biden was trying to be inconspicuous by saying directly who it was in an indirect way.
The brother of Hunter's uncle, Jim, is Joe Biden. Why was Hunter so secretive about his father? I'm going to tell you why. It's because Joe Biden didn't want the American people to know he and his family were getting paid millions and millions of dollars from a company closely tied to the Chinese Communist Party. CEFC knew paying Biden family members was bad, so they covered it up. Hunter knew Joe Biden hanging out with CCP businessmen would be a bad look, so he tried to pull a genius move on us with this whole "my uncle's brother" bullshit. We already know the president took bribes from Burisma. I also want to add, betraying your country is treason.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record this text message between Hunter Biden and Gong Wendong and the FBI memo regarding their interview with Tony Bobolinsky, showing Joe Biden's connections to CFC during his vice presidency.
Without objection, so ordered.
Ooh, it's starting to look like evidence piling up on Joe Biden. This doesn't all look like Hunter Biden's issues anymore. We're starting to see more and more affiliation to Joe Biden. They're not going to be able to avoid the fact of the matter when we lay this out over the next several months in the House, that there's an overwhelming amount of evidence, even if some of it is circumstantial, that proves it's got to be Joe. Joe is the big guy. He is the 10% for the big guy. And I hope when this all is said and done, the one thing that needs to happen happened. I'm not talking about Biden's got to go, because that's an obvious. But Obama gets a special inquiry investigation thrown at him the minute Trump comes back for being a part of this as well, because Biden couldn't have been the point man as VP under Obama dealing with all these foreign issues, foreign affairs, and Obama didn't know about the money. Bullshit. Obama knew. Obama didn't know about all the shady business dealings. Of course he did. At one point, the Secret Service, probably at Obama's behest, was protecting Hunter Biden's business ventures. That's what I have to believe, just by the way that they handled the situation at this point. They're very tight-lipped, and I'm sure a lot of it happens because the ship is sinking, And Joe Biden is not the driver of this boat. It was Obama. Obama and all his cronies at the top of his three-lettered agencies that helped facilitate this. And I guarantee you, in my opinion, let me just leave it at that, Obama is probably the real big guy. He's the secret partner big guy.
Professor Turley, we got 30 seconds. In your experience in reviewing cases of fraud, do people who are conducting legitimate business usually go through these efforts and hoops to keep their foreign entanglements hidden?
Yes, the issue with influence peddling is that it can, in some circumstances, be legal, but it's not something that necessarily is made public. The public does not buy into the idea that you can sell your family brand if it's influence peddling. So what happens with influence peddling is that you often have the commission of crimes that conceal it, and to take steps so that it's not public. That may include, but it's not necessarily the reason in this case, but it may include the failure to pay taxes, the failure to register as a foreign agent. And part of the purpose of an inquiry is to see if there is a linkage between those acts and, more importantly, a linkage to the president. Can I briefly respond to the earlier attack? You may have additional questions. I don't want to take your time.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, the gentlelady's over time.
Okay.
But we'll work with you on that because.
All right, folks, that was the full clip. I just thought that was very important to listen to her. She's got more evidence coming out. I hope they slow walk this thing, and not so slow that nothing gets done. But I hope they go through as thorough a process as possible to explain and expose every drop of evidence's connection to the next piece of evidence, so this lays out like a book. I'm ready. We already know so much of the details. We're eventually going to see it on CNN News. The timeline of when Joe Biden and his son and his brother started taking the money. Who knows when that'll happen, folks? It may be as late as 2025 before we actually get the mainstream media to come on board, but I don't think so. I think they're going to throw old Joe out the bus window before it's all said and done. Probably going to parachute Michelle Obama in because they realize Joe can't win even with cheating. That's all I got for you, folks. Everybody have a nice day. Hope you enjoyed the video. Tried to be a little informative, but yes, it was definitely much more interesting to watch than that dang Republican debate. That was a snore fest.